Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's edition of the Daily Stand-Up. My name is Lee Henson, president and founder of AgileDad. Without any further ado, let's get started. It's Friday. We made it through another week. I hope that you're all feeling excited for the weekend, and I hope you have something really fun planned with your family, with your friends, or with someone close to you so that you can get out of this funk and really feel uplifted. And I hope that you've had an opportunity to listen to every episode this week. This week has really been amazing to me. We focused on self-improvement, and while this doesn't directly tie to Agile, it does. And I think that sometimes we can't see the best in others until we see what's potentially the best in ourselves. And we started off by talking about the importance of holding introspectives and kind of doing a discovery session to figure out where we are. We talked about building a solid foundation and leaving a legacy behind with a cool story to tell, a recent story. We talked about your goal and the purpose behind that goal and setting realistic goals and how they can uplift you. Today, I want to seal the deal with something that I learned that just blew my mind. Here we go. So, when I was working with a team of executives, we did an offsite retreat for executives, and we had executives from several of the Fortune 100 companies there, C-levels. And one of the things that we asked them was, tell me, what makes you a well-rounded person? What makes you a person that everyone wants to be around? What makes you a person that everyone admires? What makes you a person that everyone looks up to? And the answer that we got was quite surprising. You know, many of them had the answers you would expect. You know, it's the way that I built my company. It's the things that our company stands for. All great answers, don't get me wrong. But there was one executive who stood up from the crowd. And I'll quote what he said. He said, what makes me the best executive, what makes me the better person, what makes me the person that everyone wants to be around, is that every time I meet someone new, every time I meet someone that I don't know, I try to spend a minute or two discovering a quality or character trait about them that uplifts me, that I admire, that I respect about them. Then what I do is I try to emulate that character trait until I meet the next new person. So sometimes that could be a few minutes, sometimes it could be an hour, sometimes it could be days. But I find that if I emulate that quality or character trait, even if it's one that I'm working on, or even if it's one that I'm not perfect at, it helps me become a better person and someone that people want to be around. That just blew my lid. I was like, I can't believe it. That makes so much sense. All this time we've been studying books and doing profile tests and personality tests and trying to figure out who we were and comparing who we were to other people and discussing what we can do markedly to make things different and better. And there's just so many of these things that we're doing when in actuality, the key is quite simple. If we simply take a moment to look for the best in others. Now, there's some things that you have to do first in order to be able to see the best in others. Sometimes we are wearing goggles that prevent us from seeing the best in others. And I call that cognitive bias or preconceived notions, where we don't see the best in others because we are being driven or directed not to see the best in others. Whether we're being judgmental based on what faith someone has or what they believe in or who they love or the color of their skin or how tall or short they are, or whether they're overweight, or there's so many things that we do every single day that we judge others. And I think that we need to get rid of those things. One of the things that I found especially recently is that I'm able to look at the world differently because I see every single person as beautiful and unique. I see every person filled with a bucket of talents, and I see people filled with energy and light and excitement. And I often don't see all those other things that I discussed earlier. I see beautiful people who can contribute and add value to my life, to society, to whatever project or product they're working on, to whatever is going to make them feel like they can deliver the absolute best person that they can be. So I was perusing one of my friend's pages online, and she asked a question. She says, "Are you the best you?" And I thought about that. And I think that's a good summation for the week. And maybe that's what got me moved on this topic. But she asked, are you the best you? And if not, what can you do to become the best you? What can you do to become a better you? And I think that part of this is really seeking out character traits, qualities, other things that we may not have good focus on, and realigning our focus in such a way that we can emulate those traits, that we can build ourselves, that we can find ways to discover who we are, to uplift our own spirits, and to move forward. And one of the best ways that I found to find out about other skills and talents is to talk to them, to serve them, to put yourself in a situation where you are working closely together with them to figure out what is going to be best. What can I do to help uplift them and learn about them so that I can find something about them that blows my mind so that I can emulate that so that I can be a better person? And, it's kind of funny because I remember I was walking with this individual, this executive, and we're outside going for lunch at this conference, and he walked by someone who was homeless on the street. And they were begging for money, and we don't know whether they were really homeless or not, but every time that happened, he would give them something. And someone turned to him and said, why do you keep doing that? All that's going to do is keep promoting people to do this. And his answer was, I'd rather give something to somebody who doesn't need it and let them be judged for that later than for me to be judged for not giving to the one person who needed it most. And that's the kind of person I want to be. That was a great example of serving others. That was a great example of emulating those things. Just this past week, I was at IKEA picking up some supplies for a remodel that we're doing in one of the rooms at our home. And there was a lady there who was struggling at the loading dock, except for she wasn't loading, she was unloading. She had a shelf that she built in her house, and the shelf just wasn't right. But she wasn't real handy with tools and didn't want to take the time to disassemble the shelf. So she had an assembled shelf in the back of her vehicle. And what I can tell you is I don't know how she got it in there, but getting it out was a beast. And there were several young, fit young men who walked by and saw her struggling. I mean, she was nearly to the point of crying. And she just could not get this out. And she didn't want to damage her car, and she was scared, and she didn't know what to do. She was just on the brink of leaving. And I had come out, and I was loading my vehicle, and I had several large boxes to load in my vehicle, and some of those were sliding, so I wanted to make sure I got those in first. But then the very next thing that crossed my mind, without hesitation, was to walk over and help her get that shelf out of her car. And when I did, she says, you've just restored my faith in humanity. She says, I got to be honest. She says, I saw several people who were able-bodied, capable, and, stronger, in appearance than you are, that could have easily stopped and in 2 seconds helped me get this out of my car. She says, I feel so bad. She says, when I first walked out here, she said, what I saw when I looked at you was an overweight man struggling, an older overweight man struggling to put large items into his own vehicle. I said, there's no way I can even ask him to help me. There's no way I can expect that he will. He'll probably be completely out of energy and spent by the time he gets those things in his car. She says, and for that, I feel so bad. I'm so sorry. She says, I should have never judged you that way. That made my day. That helped me better focus on seeing beauty in her. She didn't have to tell me that story. She didn't have to tell me what was on her mind. She didn't have to tell me what she was thinking. But when she said that I restored her faith in humanity just by getting a simple shelf out of her car, it made me wonder, what could we do for others with a simple smile, with a simple good gesture, with something that's going to help build them and help them see the best in others around them? So part of this that's contagious is that when you start to learn to see the best in others, you will then in turn help them and let them see the best in you. And when they see the best in you, that is the golden ticket. That is the pay it forward. That is the piece that we're trying to achieve. And I feel like sometimes we don't take it to that point. We might do a simple act of kindness and then let it go. I think it's providing an opportunity for others to see the best that we can be, and for us to always seek out the best that others can be. But in order to do that, you got to get rid of the goggles. You got to get rid of those glasses that are tainting your view. You've got to come in without cognitive bias, without prejudice, without preconceived notion. You need to have love and respect for every human and know that everyone has value and everyone has something to contribute. Even some of the worst people in the world have something that's redeeming or positive about them. And I think that it's just important for us to never look at someone as a lost cause. Always look at ourselves and others as people of great worth. And when we can get to that point where we're enlightened and uplifted, I think that when we couple that with all the things that we've learned this week, it'll help us discover who we really are and help us improve our situation. So I hope that this has brought you great joy this week, and I hope that it's uplifted you. I encourage you to practice and to find ways to uplift others, to seek out who you really are, to build that strong foundation, to create a legacy, leave a story to tell, and to just frequently introspect, to course correct, and to help you make sure that you're staying on track. Until next time, I encourage you to take care, stay healthy, stay well, my friends, and as always, find a way to make the world a better place. Thank you, and we'll see you real soon.